And that really is the message of the tree. The message of the tree is come. Come under my embrace. Come under my shelter. Come under my hospitable, magnanimous branches and leaves. I will take care of you. I will fend for you. I will protect you. That's the message of the tree. As the Manchester Rosh Hashiva of Segel used to say, and also I saw it in the Chasam Sofer, the Torah says, V'gam ani shamati es nakas b'nei Yisrael. God says, I also have heard the cries, the woe, the pain of the Jewish people. What do you mean, I also? Who's God aligning with himself with? Who's God making himself secondary or tertiary to? What does it mean, I also? Says the Manchester Rosh Hashiva, says the Chasam Sofer. It means that God says, when I heard one Jew crying for another Jew, and feeling the pain of another Jew, then God says, I want to be part of this. I will redeem them. When the Jewish people were leaving Mitzrayim, the pasuk says, "V'gam mikanenu lech imanu," that so shall our flock, so shall our livestock, so shall our cattle leave with us. Kimimenu nikach la'avodas Hashem, because it is from this that we are taking to serve God. From the animals, because we're going to bring sacrifices. Says the Holy Malbim in his Sefer Eretz Chemda, look at these words, because every word in the Torah has layers and layers of profundity and is multilateral. Never ever look at a word in the Torah just superficially. Understand that it has so much depth and there's so much prism to every single word. From the animals we will worship Hashem. What does that mean? He says because the Gemara in the Erev and Daf Kuf tells us that had the Torah not been given, we could learn modesty from the cat. We could learn ethics about stealing from the ant and morality from the dove. So says the Torah. How do we know how to serve God before the Torah is given? God embedded, God implanted into nature, into God's creations, because everything that God created is holy and special. It's God's creation. God put in there lessons for humanity, for us to live by, for us to learn from. One of my favorite animals. We actually have one in our house. Well, we don't. It couldn't fit. It's called the giraffe. The giraffe actually is renowned for Julius Caesar and the great emperors. Their favorite pets were actually giraffes because the mystique surrounding and the allure surrounding that mystical, mythical creature, the giraffe. The giraffe is the tallest of all animal species in the world. What does the Torah call the giraffe? According to Reb Sadia Gaon, according to Rabbeinu Yonah, according to many authorities, when the Torah in Parshas Re'eh mentions the kosher creatures, remember, there are 10 kosher creatures allowed to be consumed by the Jew, 3 domesticated and 7 non-domesticated. So the cow, the sheep, and the goat, of course, are 3 domesticated. And the 7 non-domesticated, there's a lot of debate what those are. But like, for example, bison, and for example, let's say deer, you could have venison, maybe a gazelle, maybe a buffalo. But Zemer, the Torah says Zemer. What is Zemer? According to many opinions, most opinions, the Zemer is the giraffe. And the giraffe is a ruminant, it regurgitates. The giraffe has totally split hooves. The giraffe is a kosher animal, so why don't we eat giraffe? It's a little hard to catch. That's the truth, really. Now, you say, no, the neck, shechita is fine. The Torah tells you where to shech. So it's a 6-foot neck, so it means that it's even easier to shech because it's such a long neck. Right? Can you imagine an animal with a smaller neck? You have to use a microscope. You got to use binoculars, maybe. Hey, it's very easy. It has a long neck. Shecht it anywhere. The giraffe is a zemer. Says Chazal, perhaps the reason why zemer is giraffe is because zemer means branch, and the horns. It's not exactly horns. It's considered to be a certain type of bone, actually. But the horns that protrude actually look like branches, and that's why it's called zemer. Others say because the giraffe is a happy animal. It's a very happy creature. It loves music. It loves dancing. And therefore, zemer, Targum, Unklis, Taich's giraffe, he translates giraffe as ditza. It's in Rina, ditza, chedva, right? Ditza means jubilation. It means ecstasy, not the pill ecstasy, okay? But it means being happy, the natural happiness, right? That's Zemer. The Rokeach says that the way they used to trap giraffes was that they would have a person whistle and musically, and then another person would trap it, but it reacted to the music or responded to the music. However, it's very interesting because giraffes do not emit sound. And therefore, some opinions in Chazal say that the reason why giraffe is called Zemer is because it's a euphemism, sort of like the Gemara when it speaks about Rahman al-Islam, a blind person, it calls him Saginar, which means replete with light. In other words, he really doesn't have any vision, but in order not to be condescending of him, it talks about him like he has so much vision. So therefore, a giraffe is called Zemer because, now there is it called infrasonic sound, which the giraffe, of course, does communicate, but it's inaudible to the human ears. It's called infrasonic. So a giraffe is but perhaps that's why it's called Zemer. Now, so one thing we can learn from the giraffe, aside from the fact that it's the tallest, the fact is that the human being is the only species that is exclusively Homo erectus, what we call a biped versus a quadruped. Right? Animals all gravitate toward the earth. Right? Now, you could say, whoa, what are you talking about? Penguins. I took my kids to the zoo once and I told them this teaching and they Tati, it's not true. No, they don't say it like that. Of course, they say it the way you're supposed to. Tati, we think it's maybe incorrect. Right. Halavai, right? They agree. Anyhow, but penguins seem to, right? But you look at any animal, they all end up crawling. The only one is the human being. And the human being is Homo erectus because the Maharal says, because we are like the tree. The same way the tree is totally straight up. So we're not, the animals gravitate towards materialism, towards Homer, towards mundane, towards the real trivial things. We want Shemayim. We want, even though we have all that temptation, it tries to really bog us down, we want to climb, we want to really, really, really get higher up like the tree, the giraffe. So the giraffe is happy. The tallest creature, the creature that's most like us in a certain way and like the tree, is happy. We have to project happiness. But more so, do you know that the giraffe's heart is 2 feet long and 25 pounds? I don't think there's any other heart like that. 25 pounds weight. Why? Because how else is the blood supposed to travel all the way up, right? A giraffe is 18 feet tall. So how's the blood supposed to get to the brain? So it's got to have a massive pump that brings it. But not only that, do you know that the giraffe, the longest fall to earth from any creature in this world, the longest fall when a baby's born is the giraffe, because it's got to go from its 6 to 8 foot mother, and the mother gives birth to the giraffe after a 15-month, ladies, it's not so bad, right? 15-month pregnancy, it's got to go all the way down. And no, it doesn't have any it doesn't have any protection. How does it survive such a fall? It's just emerging from the womb. How does it survive the fall? The answer is Hashem protects it. Hashem protects it. And within 5 hours, it's walking around. Its mother goes ahead and kicks it. It's a whole process. What happens? You can read all about it. It's very, very interesting. Don't take any lessons for home about kicking your kids. But the giraffe, amazingly, it falls all the way down. It's not encased with some things necessarily. Hashem protects it. And therefore, it's a lesson to us. It's what Musar Haskell says. It looks like something's falling, and something's falling hard. But you have to understand, if Hashem is in your life, you have to embrace Hashem. Then you could survive anything. The giraffe falls 6 to 8 feet. It's the most vulnerable, susceptible state. It's a little tiny baby just getting out of the womb. If you think about it, next Shabbos we'll be celebrating Tu B'Shvat. The tree, the redwood tree, for example, the tallest tree in the world is a Xperience tree discovered in 2006. Right? Just a few years ago. In California. If you want to get there today, it's totally hidden, because people are afraid that somebody's going to try to, climb on it. Basically, I don't know what you could do exactly with the tree, but, damage it. So they hid it away. That obviously you can't take a 379-foot tree and hide it. But they obscured it in a certain way, right? They made it that it's not something that is easily accessible. How does the water get from the trunk? We have somebody called gravity, Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton was an amazing personality, Isaac Newton. He wasn't Jewish, but very, very biblical-like. I mean, Hashem to say biblical-like, but a man of immense stature. He studied Torah, actually. He studied Talmud. He studied the Nevi'im. He actually wrote a diagram of the third base Midrash, what he envisioned third base Midrash. Amazing man. So he wrote about gravity, right? But how does it... This contravenes, this contradicts, this defies gravity. How does it go? So you have the xylem system, and you have the capillaries. How does it go? How does it go? It's a miracle that it goes. There's a special absorption system that allows it to go almost 400 feet reverse, defying gravity. That's a lesson to us. The tree is us. That sometimes you got to go swim against the tide. You got to go defy. We're being pushed down, and sometimes we feel that. Whether you're at work, friends, raising a family, sometimes it feels almost unbearable. Right? And you really get despondent from it. You got to swim against the tide. You got to be like the Xperience tree that goes up, no matter what. Not only is the tree the tallest creation of Hashem that reproduces, because of course mountains are taller, but mountains are not in that league at all. Tree is the species that would be considered to be the tallest creation of Hashem in that regard. But it's also the oldest. Why? As a matter of fact, in the White Mountains of California, there is the Methuselah, Methuselah, because Methuselah was the longest living, chronologically the longest living human being, as the Torah says. Well, there's a tree named after him, Methuselah. And there's a tree in the White Mountains of California that is over 5,000 years old. Can you imagine? It may have seen Noah, maybe even Adam, Avraham, Yitzchok, Yaakov. Well, if it's in California. I don't think that Avraham, Yitzchok, Yaakov went to the beach, for a vacation, right? But the roots, remember the roots, go all over the place. Why is that so interesting to me? Why would Hashem make it that the tree? Because again, the tree signifies us. The oldest living organism in the world. In the animal world, I think it's a turtle. It's 183 years old, some kind of, a form of a turtle. 5,000 years old! Is to teach us that we have to be productive. We have to give forth. We hear, like a tree, to be hospitable, to encompass others, to give forth to others. And where is this tree located? Where is this tree located? In California. Why California? California is the New World. Until 1492, Christopher Columbus's voyage, which incidentally was not a mikra, was not a coincidence. That the same year the Jews were expelled from Spain and they thought it was the end. Because where's the epicenter of Judaism outside of Eretz Israel in the world? And until recently was the greatest majority, the greatest percentage of Jews living in the world, America. And where's the second oldest tree in the world? The cypress tree of Abar Ku, which is a Zoroastrian, because of course in Persia the religion was Zoroastrianism before they became Muslim. The second oldest tree in the world, which is more than 4,000 years old, is in Iran. What's going on here? Why? And why would the first oldest tree be in California, in America? The Gemara in Avodah Zarah Daf Beis and Beis tells us that La'asa Lavo and Achar Siyam in eschatological times, in the end of days, Mashiach comes, there are going to be two primary nations left, most significant nations in the world, Edom and Paras. Most commentators translate Edom as modern day America, and Paras as Iran. They will be the ones that will battle the last battle. And where are the two oldest trees in the world? America and Iran. Where's the tallest tree in the world? America. The Gemara in Yuma Daf Yud tells us that there will be a tremendous war between these two countries. And the Gemara brings two opinions. Which one will win? I'm not going to tell you which. Rav Chaim Volozhin, the great Rav Chaim Volozhin, the Talmud Muvak, the primary disciple of the Vilna Gaon. He said something prophetic. He prognosticated hundreds of years ago that the last exile of the Jewish people will be America. America, Amrika, an empty, bereft nation, a nation of materialism, a nation perhaps of decadence. But America was also great. The Judeo-Christian values, the ethics, look what it produced. The greatest country in the free world. But yet, it has that tension. Because it could be the greatest country, but could it be the weakest country? It could be empty. Because prosperity brings, unfortunately, immorality. Rav Chaim Volozhin said to the Jews that will be the last stronghold of the Jews is America. That means that the Jewish people have an achrayus in America to make sure to bring kedusha, to bring holiness to America, and to be makar of as many Jews as possible, because the largest contingent, the largest concentration of unaffiliated Jews anywhere in the world is in America. And therefore we got to be the trees. We got to be the trees. The Jews in America have to be the trees to say, welcome, come in, we embrace you. We tolerate. We want you. We're going to provide for you. We're going to sustain. We're going to cherish you. We're going to nurture you. Come to B'Shvat next Shabbos. Enjoy all the fruit. Make a beautiful Seder. But more importantly, remember what you're all about. You're like a tree. You're there for others, Bez Hashem. And you're trying to be Makar, you're trying to bring closer as many people as possible in America. Bez Hashem, we'll be Zoche then to a special bracha. Vayitin Hashem eschein. That Rebbe Shem will give us a chen, and we'll be Zoche, Bez Hashem, to the Mashiach Tzidkeinu b'meher v'yameinu. Amen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming, everybody.